5 words that make a woman desire you without understanding why. Now pay close attention, because what I'm about to share has absolutely nothing to do with corny pickup lines, memorized scripts, or juvenile manipulation tactics. What you're going to discover today taps directly into the emotional processing center of the female brain, the part that determines attraction long before she can logically articulate what she's experiencing. Here's what most men have completely missed, and because they've missed this fundamental truth, they waste years of their lives attempting to win women over through excessive effort, constant attention, and being perpetually available. Right now, I'm going to reveal 5 specific words that trigger desire without you having to force anything or try too hard. And make sure you stay with me until the very end, because there's one particular word that nearly every man uses at exactly the wrong moment. When you finally learn to deploy it correctly, it transforms everything about how women respond to you. But before we dive into this list, you need to grasp why this concept matters so profoundly. Female attraction doesn't originate in the realm of logic or rational thought. It springs from something much deeper, from instinct and emotion. It's not your physical appearance, your bank account, or your relentless persistence that awakens genuine desire in a woman. It's the specific emotional state you create within her when you communicate. Have you ever observed certain men who say remarkably little yet somehow command the complete attention of any woman they interact with? This phenomenon occurs because these men have mastered what I call emotional triggers, psychological switches for security, intrigue, and independence. While the majority of men believe that showering women with compliments, over-explaining their intentions, and maintaining constant availability builds connection, the female brain actually interprets these behaviors as signs of neediness. And neediness? It doesn't create attraction. Instead, it generates comfort, platonic friendship, and complete predictability. What you're about to learn is how to communicate powerful masculine energy using minimal words with maximum psychological impact. Let's explore the first word on this list and pay careful attention to the context in which it works. The first word, calm. When you say the word calm with quiet firmness and authority, you transmit something incredibly powerful: emotional self-regulation. From a neuroscientific perspective, this single word actually reduces the activation of her threat detection system and creates an immediate sense of safety in her nervous system. A man who remains calm signals emotional leadership, one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess. But let me be crystal clear about how to use this word. This isn't calm spoken like someone who's apologizing or frantically trying to control a spiraling situation. This is calm delivered in a neutral, composed, almost detached manner during moments of tension or conflict. The tone matters as much as the word itself. Picture this scenario. She's getting worked up about something. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe there's a disagreement. Maybe external circumstances are creating chaos. While most men would either match her emotional intensity or start over-explaining and trying to fix everything immediately, you simply say calm with steady, unshakable composure. This completely reframes the entire dynamic. Why does this work so effectively? Because in that moment, you're not being pulled into her emotional state. You're remaining grounded in your own center. And women are instinctively drawn to men who can maintain their emotional equilibrium when everything around them is turbulent. It's a demonstration of strength that goes far beyond physical power. If what I'm sharing is already starting to click for you, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this content reach more men who desperately need to understand these truths. The second word, later. This word carries immense power because it communicates something that most men are terrified to demonstrate: self-priority. When you say later, you're showing that your entire existence doesn't revolve around her schedule, her availability, or her immediate demands. The female brain associates this behavior with two of the most potent attraction triggers that exist: perceived value and scarcity. Here's where most men go completely wrong. They're absolutely terrified to use the word later because they genuinely believe it will make them appear disinterested or uncaring. They think that being constantly available demonstrates how much they value her, but the actual effect is precisely the opposite of what they intend. Later creates something that logic-based approaches can never create: genuine curiosity. It breaks the predictable pattern that kills attraction faster than almost anything else. It increases the emotional weight and significance of your presence in her life. And no, this isn't about playing manipulative games or being intentionally cruel. This is simply about refusing to abandon yourself and your priorities to accommodate her every whim. Think about the men you know who women pursue relentlessly. They're not the ones who drop everything the instant she texts. They're the ones who have their own lives, their own missions, their own schedules. And they invite women into that world rather than abandoning everything to enter hers. When you say later, naturally, and without guilt, you're communicating that you have a life worth living independent of her validation. And that is intensely attractive. If you're committed to learning how to use these principles naturally and authentically, stick with me because at the end, I'm going to show you exactly where you can go deeper with all of this material. The third word, choose. This word directly activates her perception of masculine autonomy and decisiveness. When you say I choose in the appropriate context, you're communicating that you don't operate from a place of scarcity or emotional desperation. You're not reacting to circumstances, you're actively creating them. Female psychology responds dramatically more powerfully to men who choose than to men who ask for permission or seek approval. This connects to what behavioral psychologists call internal locus of control, the belief that you are the primary force directing your life rather than being controlled by external circumstances or other people's opinions. A man who genuinely chooses demonstrates clear direction and purpose, and direction is one of the characteristics that women find most unconsciously attractive, even when they can't articulate exactly why. Let me give you a concrete example of how this plays out. Instead of asking, would you maybe want to grab dinner sometime if you're free? You say, I'm heading to this place on Thursday evening. Choose to join me. See the difference? One seeks permission and approval. The other extends an invitation from a position of certainty and autonomy. Notice something important about all these words so far. None of them are traditionally romantic or sentimental. They're not sweet nothings or poetic declarations. They're emotionally powerful without being emotionally dependent. They're words that communicate masculine energy, not supplicating behavior. The fourth word, cool. Cool functions as what I call a confidence amplifier. When you respond with a simple cool to something that would typically make most men anxious, defensive, or reactive, you're demonstrating extraordinary emotional stability. And emotional stability generates respect. And respect, genuine respect, is what sustains desire over the long term. Here's the pattern you see constantly. Men who over-explain themselves when something unexpected happens, who immediately go into damage control mode, who become visibly anxious when circumstances don't go according to plan, these men lose perceived value without even realizing it's happening. Imagine this situation. She cancels plans at the last minute. The typical guy immediately starts asking what's wrong, wondering if he did something to upset her, trying to reschedule immediately to prove he's still interested, basically radiating anxiety through every word. His neediness is palpable. Now imagine responding with a simple cool and then going about your day without missing a beat. You're not punishing her. You're not playing games. You're simply acknowledging the information and moving forward with your life completely unshaken. What does this communicate? That your emotional state isn't dependent on her presence or validation. That you have the internal stability to handle unexpected changes without falling apart. That you're a man who maintains his center regardless of external circumstances. This single word, delivered with the right energy, creates both mystery and maintains your emotional position at a high level. She doesn't get the reaction she might have unconsciously expected, which makes her start wondering about you, thinking about you, questioning whether she made the right choice. If you're finding genuine value in this content, subscribe to this channel immediately, because this is where you learn the truths that nobody else will explain to you directly and honestly. The fifth word, let's. Let's is fundamentally a word of action and leadership. It invites without asking for permission. It proposes without begging or pleading. From a neuropsychological perspective, this word activates feelings of anticipation and forward movement in her brain. Unlike lengthy questions filled with qualifiers and justifications, Let's creates an immediate sensation of flow and momentum. Genuinely attractive men lead experiences. They don't negotiate for attention or try to convince women to spend time with them. And this is precisely what let's communicates when you use it with natural confidence and presence. Think about the energetic difference between these two approaches. I was thinking, if you're not too busy and you're interested, maybe we could potentially go check out that new place downtown, but only if you want to, no pressure. Versus, let's check out that new place downtown Thursday at 7. The first reeks of uncertainty and approval seeking, the second demonstrates decisive leadership. It's not that the sound of the word itself is magical, it's the energy of a man who doesn't need to convince, beg, or justify his desires. Understanding the deeper pattern, speaking less, speaking better. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because these 5 words are connected by a crucial principle. You speak less, but everything you do say carries significantly more weight. Here's a truth that might be uncomfortable for some men to hear. Silence, when used skillfully, is magnetic. Most men talk too much. They fill every pause with words. They explain their intentions endlessly. They verbally process their emotions in real time. And in doing so, they completely dilute their impact. Each word you speak should carry genuine emotional weight. Women are not attracted to men who erase themselves to gain approval. They're drawn to men who maintain clear self-priority and then choose to share their lives from that grounded position. This is why these 5 words work so effectively. They're economical, they're precise, they communicate powerful masculine energy without excess. They demonstrate that you understand your own value and you're not desperate for validation. Let me address something important here. This isn't about being cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. This is about being emotionally self-sufficient while remaining capable of genuine connection. There's a massive difference between these two states, and men who confuse them end up either being pushovers or emotionally withholding jerks. Neither extreme is attractive. The goal is to become a man who can be warm, engaged, and present while simultaneously maintaining clear boundaries, self-respect, and independence. These 5 words help you communicate that balanced state effectively. The neuroscience behind why this works. Let's dive deeper into the actual brain science operating beneath the surface, because understanding the why makes you exponentially more effective at applying the how. When you communicate with the controlled economical style these 5 words represent, you're activating specific neurological responses in the female brain. First, you're triggering what researchers call the approach avoidance dynamic. By not being constantly available, by maintaining your independence, by speaking with confidence, you create a healthy tension that keeps her nervous system engaged. This is completely different from creating anxiety or fear, which repels attraction. This is creating intrigue and interest, the feeling that there's more to discover about you, that you're not an open book she's already read cover to cover. Second, you're stimulating dopamine release through unpredictability and reward anticipation. When you're completely predictable, always available, always accommodating, always seeking her approval, there's no dopamine spike. Her brain essentially categorizes you as solved and moves on to more stimulating inputs. But when you use words like later and cool appropriately, you introduce just enough unpredictability to keep her dopamine system engaged. She can't completely predict your responses. She can't take your attention for granted. And this uncertainty, paradoxically, increases her investment and attraction. Third, these words communicate what psychologists call high mate value through behavioral demonstration rather than verbal claims. You're not telling her you're confident and independent. You're showing it through every economical word choice and unhurried response. The female brain has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to become extraordinarily skilled at detecting authentic signals of male quality. Cheap words are easy to fake. But the energy behind these 5 words? That's much harder to counterfeit. When you genuinely embody the self-assured masculine presence these words reflect, she recognizes it on an instinctual level. Common mistakes men make with language. Before we continue, I need to address the most common mistakes men make when trying to apply these principles, because understanding what not to do is just as important as knowing the right approach. Mistake 1. Using these words without the supporting energy. You can't just mechanically insert these words into your vocabulary while maintaining a needy, approval-seeking energy. The words themselves are simply symbols. What matters is the authentic internal state they represent. If you say cool while radiating anxiety and neediness, it won't work. The incongruence between your words and your energy will be immediately apparent. Mistake 2, becoming artificially distant or cold. Some men hear this information and swing too far in the opposite direction. They become emotionally withholding, cold, or deliberately distant because they confuse self-respect with emotional unavailability. This doesn't create attraction, it creates frustration, and eventually causes women to lose interest entirely. The goal is warm presence combined with clear boundaries. You can be engaged, attentive, and emotionally present while still maintaining your independence and self-priority. These aren't mutually exclusive states. Mistake 3, using these words as manipulation tools. If your intention is to manipulate or control women, these words won't work the way you hope. Women have incredibly sophisticated detection systems for inauthenticity and manipulation. When you use these words as genuine expressions of your actual values and priorities, they're powerful. When you use them as calculated tactics to trick someone, they backfire. Mistake 4, overusing these words. Everything loses power through overuse. If you're constantly saying later to every request or responding cool to absolutely everything, you're not demonstrating confidence. You're following a rigid script. Use these words when they're genuinely appropriate, not as automatic responses to every situation. Mistake 5, forgetting the importance of context. Context determines everything. There are moments when calm is the perfect response and moments when it would be completely inappropriate and tone deaf. There are times when later demonstrates healthy boundaries and times when it would be unnecessarily hurtful or dismissive. Develop the social intelligence to recognize the difference. Developing the internal foundation techniques and words are useful, but they're ultimately superficial without the right internal foundation. Let me share what you need to develop beneath the surface to make these principles truly effective. First, cultivate genuine self-respect and self-priority. This isn't narcissism or selfishness. It's the recognition that you are the central protagonist in your own life story. Your mission, your goals, your values, these come first. A woman who's right for you will appreciate being invited into a life you've already built, not being asked to become the center of an empty existence. Second, develop real interests, passions, and pursuits that matter to you independent of female validation. When you have genuine things occupying your time and attention, saying later becomes natural because you actually have commitments and priorities. When your life is empty and revolves around seeking female approval, these words ring hollow. Third, build emotional resilience and stability. These words work because they demonstrate unshakable composure. But you can't fake composure if you're internally anxious and reactive. Develop genuine emotional self-regulation through practices like meditation, physical training, challenging yourself regularly, and working through your psychological issues rather than suppressing them. Fourth, embrace outcome independence. This means you engage with women because you enjoy the interaction, not because you desperately need a specific result. When you're attached to outcomes, needing her to like you, needing her to respond a certain way, needing her validation, you can't maintain the relaxed confidence these words require. Fifth, understand that rejection and loss are part of life. Not every woman will respond to you, and that's completely fine. When you're comfortable with this reality, you stop being desperate. And when you stop being desperate, everything about your communication naturally improves. Let me give you some concrete scenarios showing how to integrate these principles into actual interactions. Scenario 1, she texts you last minute asking if you're free. Average response: yeah, absolutely. What did you have in mind? Improved response: later. Middle of something right now. See the difference? You're not dropping everything. You're not immediately available. You're communicating that you have a life and priorities, and you'll respond when it works for you. Scenario 2, she's getting emotional or worked up about something. Average response: long explanations, trying to fix everything, matching her emotional intensity. Improved response: calm. Then giving her space to regulate herself while remaining present and grounded. This positions you as the emotional rock rather than getting pulled into the turbulence. Scenario 3, you're making plans. Average response, so what do you want to do? I'm flexible, whatever you prefer. Improved response, let's hit that new place downtown, Thursday at 8. You're leading, you're deciding, you're inviting her into something you've chosen. Scenario 4, plans change or something unexpected happens. Average response, anxiety, over-explaining, immediately trying to fix things. Improved response, cool. You're demonstrating that you're not rattled by minor changes or unexpected developments. Scenario 5, making a decision about the relationship or interaction. Average response, well, what do you think we should do? Improved response, I choose this direction. You're taking ownership of your decisions rather than perpetually seeking consensus or approval. The bigger picture, authentic, masculine communication. What we're really talking about here transcends these 5 specific words. We're discussing a fundamental shift in how you communicate as a man, from a place of seeking approval to a place of grounded self-assurance. The masculine energy that women find most attractive is characterized by clear direction and purpose, emotional stability and composure, decisive action rather than endless deliberation, self-priority without selfishness, leadership through example rather than force, economy of words with maximum impact. These 5 words embody all of these qualities. They're not magic spells or manipulation tactics. They're simply efficient expressions of an attractive internal state. When you truly understand this, you stop seeing communication as a game you need to win or a puzzle you need to solve. Instead, you recognize it as the natural expression of who you are. And when who you are is a man with clear purpose, solid boundaries, and genuine self-respect, the right words flow naturally. Taking this to the next level. If you're genuinely committed to mastering this type of communication, understanding not just what to say, but the precise timing, the appropriate silence, and the exact energy that makes these principles work, I want to invite you to explore my ebook, Secrets of Attraction. In that resource, I go significantly deeper into these psychological triggers with detailed practical examples and real-world application strategies. You'll learn the complete framework for masculine communication that creates genuine, lasting attraction. The link is waiting for you in the description below. But here's what I need you to remember above everything else. Attraction cannot be forced through effort or manipulation. It can only be communicated through authentic presence and genuine self-respect. These 5 words work not because they're magical combinations of syllables, but because they reflect an internal state that women find instinctively compelling. When you speak less but speak better, when you maintain your center rather than abandoning yourself for approval, when you lead your own life and invite women to join rather than begging them to become your entire world, that's when everything changes. These aren't just words, they're expressions of a way of being in the world. Master that way of being, and the words will take care of themselves. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me which of these 5 words resonates most powerfully with you, or which one you think will be most challenging to implement in your own life. I read every single comment, and I'm genuinely interested in your experiences and insights. And if this video has provided value, if you can feel something shifting in how you understand attraction and communication, hit that like button right now and subscribe to this channel. This is where you get the honest truths about male-female dynamics that mainstream dating advice will never tell you. Remember, attraction isn't forced, it's communicated. And now you know exactly how to communicate it with precision, economy, and devastating effectiveness. I'll see you in the next one.